And welcome back to Clear Talk, the financial series here on Sacramento Smooth Jazz. And if you've been listening, you also know that we're on YouTube as well. All of our segments are going into YouTube, and we'll tell you how to access them later. And we come here to give you some brief information when it comes to finance. We also understand that there's no one-size-fits-all strategy, which is why we give it to you in an 8 to 12-minute segment. And when you find out what we're talking about, you'll be pleased to know that we have some great insight from John Nunes of Fortis Insurance Solutions, bringing in decades of experience and know-how into this conversation. And today we're going to be talking about, for our younger audience who have been asking a lot of questions as of late. So John Nunes, welcome back to Clear Talk. How are you, man?
Michael, I'm doing fantastic. Once again, it's my privilege and honor to be here with you.
I'm glad that you're here too, because people get to hear you and your experience bring about some great information in short order. Now, our core message today, I believe, really needs to focus on the younger audience because they've been asking a lot of questions and they want to build a strong financial life and do it in the right order. They've been hearing how you're taking care of the older generation, our age group and beyond. Our younger listeners want to know some things as well. Most of our recent discussions have focused on people approaching retirement. Today, you want to speak directly to listeners in their 30s and 40s, perhaps. What is the main question they should be asking themselves?
Well, Michael, the question isn't what financial product should I buy first, because that's always seems to be what's on young people's minds. But the better question is, what should I build first, second, and third? Because many people already have a lot of different pieces. They have a 401k, they might have a mortgage, maybe some life insurance, savings, maybe even some credit card debt. But those pieces aren't working together. So a financial plan should create an order, and it should be able to protect the household today, improve their cash flow, build accessible reserves, maybe even prepare for retirement, and learning how to use debt and home equity carefully. Now, that is what turns scattered accounts into a coordinated strategy, and that's what we're here to talk about today.
Yeah, you mentioned scattered accounts. I know a lot of folks have them, even those who may be a little bit older. When we're younger, most of us don't think about the future as they should. I know even when I was younger, I was thinking about eating a certain way, and I did, compared to now. Some listeners may say, I still have 20 or 30 years left before retirement, right? And in our age group, we kind of laugh at that. But why do I need a complete plan now?
Well, one thing that we've learned, Michael, is that time can either become your greatest advantage or your greatest missed opportunity. Now, when you're in your 30s and your 40s, you may still have decades for money to compound. But the one thing that you also have is you also have the heaviest of responsibilities in terms of children. Some of you might have a mortgage. You've got consumer debt. You might even have aging parents. And there's a household that depends on your paycheck every month, every year. Now, starting now doesn't mean doing everything at once. All it means is you're establishing the right sequence while you still have time to adjust. And that's what's key, because the earlier that your foundation is built, the less pressure there is to maybe make any type of dramatic move later, because we don't know what the future holds.
And we definitely don't know the future, that's for sure. And when we're younger, we act like we know it. We think we have more time. So for our younger generation, where does that sequence begin?
It's always going to begin with the protect pillar, because every other strategy that you have is going to depend on the household continuing to receive income. Now, a family should review emergency savings, any disability income protection, and any appropriate life insurance. Now, for some people, term life insurance with living benefits provisions, that could provide them affordable death benefit protection. And it also has the potential for them to access a portion of that death benefit after a qualifying terminal, chronic, or even a critical illness. Now, the details are going to vary by policy, obviously, but the whole planning principle is simple. Before building wealth, you actually have to protect the people and the paycheck that make wealth building possible.
You're coming onto a subject here that most, I'm sure, kind of lean into, like, wow, what? I never heard of this, they're saying. So after protection is addressed, what should come next?
The next step after protection is to stabilize your cash flow. Now, what that means is understanding where your money is going and also building a reasonable reserve, and if possible, even creating a deliberate plan for high interest debt. Now, someone can be contributing to their retirement while losing financial ground through expensive debt and repeated emergencies. Now, what the bank pillar does, it begins with cash flow control, which is very important, okay? It's not starting with buying a policy, it begins with cash flow control. Now, it's going to ask whether the household has liquidity, whether there's debt that's being reduced in a sensible order, and whether more of each of that dollar can eventually be redirected from interest payments towards savings, protection, and maybe even long-term wealth.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm speaking with President and CEO John Nunes of Fortis Insurance Solutions. This is our Clear Talk financial segment brought to you by Sacramento Smooth Jazz, where we just bring you a few minutes each day to give you some insight, some understanding as it relates to finance. Now, today we're talking a little bit about how our younger folks have been asking questions and how they want to know a few things, and John is explaining how they should be able to plan accordingly. Now, John, where does retirement saving fit into the order that you were just talking about?
Yeah, retirement savings should begin early and consistently. Now, you need to start by understanding the employer plan, if your employer does offer one, especially any available matches that they might have, what types of investments are being used, more importantly, the fees, and how your money is going to be taxed later. Then you have to consider whether the household is building tax diversity instead of placing every retirement dollar into that same future tax bucket. Now, for some people, an index universal life policy may be evaluated as a supplemental long-term strategy because what it does, it offers not only life insurance protection and tax-deferred cash value potential, but it also offers any type of tax advantage access when it's properly designed and managed. Remember, these are not replacements for every retirement account because it must fit the budget and it has to fit the client's needs.
Now, you're talking about a wholly different subject that people really need to pay attention to. I've heard about this for the last couple of decades, and there's a deeper understanding that people need to have. And you're qualified to give that with a personalized private consultation, which I'm sure you'll offer at the end here. But you also teach the bank pillar using participating whole life. How should younger adults think about that?
What they should think about, Michael, is about the banking function itself and not a shortcut. Because a properly structured participating whole life policy can be used to help build contractual cash value. It's going to help them maintain liquidity, but more importantly, it's going to create a pool of capital that they can access for any opportunity, maybe a major purchase or even some type of debt strategy. But what it does, it requires disciplined funding. And you have to look at a long-term horizon, and you have to have an understanding that policy loans do charge interest and they do affect policy values. Now, it's not appropriate for every budget, but it shouldn't be presented as a buy a policy and become your own bank overnight, because the whole goal here is to have greater control over capital over a longer period of time.
I'm glad that you mentioned that it's not for everybody, because when the subject comes up sometimes, there are those who may be opposed to that. They assume that it's a one size fits all, and it's not. It's not for everybody. So where does the leverage pillar come into the picture?
Well, home equity can become a powerful resource, but it needs to be approached very carefully. When you have any type of strategic access to home equity, that may help improve your cash flow efficiency. It can restructure certain debts or even support other financial priorities. But the leverage is borrowed money, and people need to understand that. It does carry interest, fees, repayment obligations, and there is a risk to the home. So the objective here is not to turn your house into an ATM. We know a lot of people have done that in the past, and they're still paying for it. So what our objective is here with the leverage pillar is to determine whether equity can be used purposefully within a written plan after protection, liquidity, and repayment capacity have been evaluated.
Great. Okay. So offering individuals who want to know more, of course, let me ask you this. How would you summarize the starting point for a listener who might feel a little overwhelmed with the information you just shared?
The biggest mistake a lot of the younger people do is they want to buy everything at once. So my suggestion and my advice is begin with the proper order. First part, protect the income, then stabilize your cash flow, address any harmful debt, build liquidity, fund your retirement consistently, create some sort of tax diversity, and use leverage only when it serves a clear purpose. Now, that is what we call the Fortis Legacy Diamond. It's all about protect, retire, bank, and leverage. It's one plan with 4 coordinated pillars. Now, listeners can visit our website at www.fortisinsurancesolutions.com, or they can call me at 1-800-900-3150, and we'll schedule a Fortis Legacy Diamond strategy session with them, because the goal here is to leave with priorities, no pressure, and absolutely a roadmap that can grow as life changes.
Sounds great. Now, you're not charging for those sessions, are you?
Not at all. These are all complementary, and they're more educational for someone who's trying to find out what direction to go in. We point them in that direction.
Excellent. So folks, there you go. John Nunes, Fortis Insurance Solutions, giving you insight, understanding in a simplified way. And he's telling you there's no one size fits all strategy. And for our younger folks, who've been asking a lot of questions, this is your opportunity to reach out to him. He told you his phone number, 1-800-900-3150, 1-800-900-3150. And if you happen to be listening in because you caught the segment on our YouTube channel, then there are other videos that you can watch as well. But definitely give John Nunes a call today. And of course, you can always catch us on Sacramento Smooth Jazz Radio as well. John, really appreciate you hanging out with us and talking to the younger folks today. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Michael. It's my pleasure.
Let's get back to more music. This is Sacramento Smooth Jazz, your escape from the noise.